Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. And first, I want to say Happy New Year to all of y'all. And secondly, I want to say this is part 2 of What If Deku had a Foresight Quirk. It seems like a lot of y'all enjoyed the first part. I'm glad to see that. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say, because I was really excited for this idea and really excited to do this. And again, let me give a quick little shout out to XBlick, even though he doesn't upload videos. His link will be in the description below. It was last video as well, and I did talk about him on the community tab, about him giving me a thumbnail for this video. But with that said, though, I'm not going to waste that much more of your time, and let's just get exactly into where we left off. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is ready. Well, at least he feels ready. He then heads to school that same day, and he has a little bit of a surprise that he wasn't expecting at all. That's a different bit of training that they had no idea that they were going to get, and that training was with All Might. Of course, Aizawa would explain to them that they're going to be doing hero training, but it won't be with him, and as he says this, All Might would come into the door. Everyone would be shocked and be confused that it's All Might that's really, well, with them. All Might then tells all of them to head outside, get on their hero outfits, and get ready for a hero bit of training. Of course, Izuku does just that, but he has a weird feeling. While looking at All Might and just getting a sense of everything, All Might has a connection to somebody in that room, has a connection to somebody there. Why? Why would he, though? Izuku would continue getting ready and getting on his simple outfits. It would be something very, very elegant in a way, but it's something that isn't really that protective, to be honest. He's very reliant on his dodging, very reliant on his skill, so he feels that he's not going to get touched anyways, so there's no real reason. But there's one thing that he wants to keep in mind. He keeps looking around. There might be someone in here that's related to All Might. At least that's the theory he has first. But soon he would realize that to be not exactly the case. There's nobody that's related to All Might there. There's somebody that's the successor of All Might there. They head out and they begin to stand in front of All Might as he explains. And Izuku continues to survey the area until his eyes lock onto one person, and he shakes his head. There's no effing way. He stares at Katsuki Bakugo for a second more as he turns back to All Might. He can tell something between them. No. He realizes something, though. That news story not too long ago. The news that he saw about the sludge villain. About Katsuki Bakugo diving headfirst like an idiot. No way. He proved himself? Izuku is shocked, taken back. The hell? If anybody should have the power of All Might, it should be him. But he shakes this idea relatively quickly. He doesn't need it anyways. He'll beat the brakes off of All Might's little successor, just like how he's always been doing this entire time. Izuku doesn't even hear what All Might has to say until it's time to fight. He hears that he's on the hero side with a girl by the name of Ochaku Uraka, someone that he saved earlier. And he hears that Bakugo and Tenya Ida are on the other side. Izuku tells her and makes it clear that he wants Bakugo, that he'll take him on and get rid of him quickly. And that's all that needs to be said and done. He puts away his weaponry, believing he won't even need it. Izuku would wait the 5 minutes of planning and approach the staircase knowing Bakugo, knowing exactly what he'll do. Bakugo comes charging down as he explodes toward Izuku, and as he does, he shoots explosions straight at him. Izuku obviously dodges relatively easily too, landing a couple punches here and there, but he can feel that Bakugo's speed is slightly increasing. But it's odd. It doesn't feel that much different. Izuku would bob and weave and eventually get a hold of Bakugo, getting him to the ground and punching him square in the jaw. But just as he does this, a kick would come soaring right to his face, as it barely misses. Izuku steps back and looks at Bakugo and is kind of shocked. Is he overwhelming him? No. He's not getting overwhelmed. That's not the case. It can't be. Izuku stands his ground, and it feels like Bakugo's movements are getting sharper, quicker. And as soon as Izuku realizes this, he's able to duck under one punch, but is caught with another, straight to the cheek. He brushes this off, and he smirks. He laughs at Bakugo, saying that he landed one blow, he did so much to land one, but he won't land another. Izuku steps up as he dodges multiple punches, as Bakugo's fighting style is getting very linear, very predictable. Izuku then lands a punch to the stomach as he kicks him straight to the wall as well, slamming Bakugo's head into the ground as Bakugo seems to be unconscious, out cold. But as Izuku's walking away, all he hears is steps. Bakugo stands up and he shoots a punch at him so strong that when he dodges it, it leaves a giant hole, a crater in the building that they're standing in. Izuku is shocked to see this, and he looks to his side to see that partially his arm got hit, and it's hurting terribly bad, partially broken. Izuku looks over to see Bakugo really isn't there anymore. He's out cold. He lands on the ground as Izuku grabs his shoulder, and it hurts like all hell. He runs up the staircase to make sure to secure the win, and as they do, he helps Ochako basically knock out Tenya, or at least get rid of him for the moment as they touch the bomb. Ochako asks about his hurt arm, what happened, but Izuku shrugs it off, saying that it's nothing. It was a fault on his own. He underestimated somebody. He underestimated Bakugo and got hurt. He walked back down the staircase as he grabs Bakugo by the back of the shirts, dragging him off. Under his breath, he kind of remarks that Bakugo has earned it. He's definitely showed him something else. As he's saying this to himself, All Might can hear this, and he smiles as well. All Might writes it down and then pulls out a phone and begins to text somebody. He begins to text Shota Aizawa. Izuku may not be humbled entirely, but he did realize that there is someone that is extremely strong that may or may not be able to keep up with him. This is something that will drive Izuku, something that will make him want to become stronger, something that they were very worried about. But now it feels that they don't have to worry, at least for the time being. Izuku would help Bakugo get to the recovery girl and leave him there. He would leave as well and head off back to, where All Might is as he watches the rest of the fights go on. All Might asks if he should go to Recovery Girl to get that arm healed, but Izuku says that there's no reason to do so. It seems that his body heals relatively quickly. He's not exactly sure how it works, but he then focuses on his arm as it, in a way, heals itself, but very, very slowly. Over the course of the day, it will eventually heal. Izuku isn't really sure how or exactly why it works, but it's some sort of mystical power in a way. He looks at All Might and says that it has to have something to do with the fact that he can kind of look into the future. It's like he can mold his body for the future, accelerating the healing process, or at least that's the idea or hypothesis he came up with. But still, it's something that's beneficial and something that he needs to learn more about. So these little ticky-tack blows and these hurt injuries, he needs to learn how to, for one, avoid them, but on top of that, heal them himself. As All Might hears this, he nods. He's interested in Izuku. Izuku has basically taken All Might's interest for sure, and he can tell that he really has a good future in hero work, and he knows that he's only going to get better at it. Izuku would wait for all the fights to be over and done with, as the rest of the school day would go on relatively normal. He would head home, and then he would head back to school the next day for a new version of training that he would hear about. He would hear that they're going to the USJ, and this is for rescue training, something that Izuku didn't really do much of, but believes that it could be a really strong part of his repertoire. Izuku is very interested in what kind of rescue training they're going to be doing, as he awaits Aizawa to explain more. He tells all of them what he can and then tells them to head off to the buses. As they do though, Bakugo walks up to Izuku and remarks that that Izuku knows, doesn't he? He knows exactly what happened and what is going on. Izuku looks at him and shakes his head. Of course I know. I know everything, right? Izuku kind of smirks at this as he says it, but then makes a motion with his lips as if he's not gonna say a word. Bakugo, for the first time in a while, or really ever, smirks at a response that Izuku has just said, as if he's becoming more comfortable with him, as if they're kind of becoming rivals. Not friends, but rivals. Izuku would sit in the bus as they all speak about who has the strongest of all quirks, but he wouldn't say a word. He didn't care, which was surprising, because normally Izuku would tell all of them that he's head over shoulders better than every single person there, so much more progressed, but no, he didn't care. He was locked in on something else. He was thinking about something else. Izuku would then head out of the bus, but as they arrived at the USJ, he would look at somebody, stare at them, and it was as if he could see right through them. He stares at the boy by the name of Aoyama. He's odd. He can see something. Something is coming. Izuku walks over to Aizawa and immediately tells him that boy right there, Yuga Aoyama, he's hiding something. Aizawa's confused. What do you mean by that, kid? As he asks this, Pro Hero 13 comes out, but they step aside and continue talking. Izuku says that he can see most things that are going on. Aizawa's attempt to basically train them and give them little tests, and on top of that, he can see Pro Hero 13's whole plan for the day. But there's one thing that all of these kids that he's staring at have in common. They're unknowing for what's coming today. But that person right there, they know what's coming. Izuku looks at Aizawa seriously and asks if there's any way he would know what's coming. Izuku stares at Aizawa's face as he could already tell Aizawa has no clue how he would come up with any idea of what's going on today. Izuku nods and he tells Aizawa that they should call for help now. Something bad is going to happen. They all walk inside as Aizawa makes sure to call for help before they even get inside the area, or at least signal for help to an extent, getting Kaminari to do so. And before they walk in, the transmitter and basically all of their communications are not blocked. So when they walk in and they see that the communications are blocked, now this is a serious issue. Izuku's little theory was correct. He was completely correct about not only the one kid that basically had an idea of what's going to happen, but on top of that, Izuku knew what was going to occur. Aizawa tells him, Izuku, and the rest of the class to get ready, that something is about to arrive. A portal opens and a ton of villains do just that. Izuku tells Aizawa that he knows that they'll get in trouble for helping, and self-defense is the least they can do. But he's gonna need him on that battlefield. Aizawa nods his head and tells him that himself and Izuku are going to the battlefield. Everyone else makes sure to get into little units to protect each other. Izuku and Aizawa drop down as they begin to knock out villain after villain. In terms of the villains that are there, they're nothing compared to Izuku, and frankly Aizawa would destroy all of them alone. But this makes things about twice as fast, and Izuku isn't going to be touched by a single finger. Izuku does, though, have an eye on that main villain, the one with the hands on his face, his body. He's concerned, but he's also interested. What is he? Why is he here? He can foresee the actions that the man will take, but on top of that, he can tell that this person has gone through hell and back, as if he was abandoned, destroyed, obliterated. And, well, he's pointing his anger towards someone. Who is that someone? He looks around, and he can tell by the basically the attitude of that same man by the name of Shigaraki. He's annoyed. The person he's looking for isn't even here. Or at least, one of them aren't. Izuku helps destroy all of the low-tier villains. They're all gone in a matter of minutes, and even Kurogiri couldn't get every single one of the heroes or the future heroes or Class 1A out of the way and put them in different zones because of how fast Aizawa and Izuku took out all of the small fry villains. But now it's Izuku and Aizawa against Shigaraki and Kurogiri. But that's not the only people that are there. Or, well, maybe this isn't a person, more like a monster. Izuku looks as the portal opens up once again, and it walks out, staring daggers into Izuku and Aizawa. And Izuku immediately tells Aizawa that they need to go, that he needs to get out of here now. There is no dodging this monster, that he'll need to look 17 steps ahead to make sure he doesn't get touched. Aizawa says that he's not letting a kid fight his battles, but Izuku jumps over toward Aizawa, grabbing his scarf and ripping it off of him as he throws it on top of himself. Aizawa is shocked to see this, and Izuku begins to float the scarves as if he knows exactly how they work. Izuku tells him to go now, that he needs to help the other kids get to safety immediately, and that this is the only way they'll win. Aizawa looks into the eyes of Izuku as they're glowing that dark purple now, and he knows this to be the truth. Izuku basically tells Aizawa that this is do or die. He needs to be quick, and they need to hope that reinforcements come immediately. Izuku then waits for the Nomu, this giant monster, to make his move. And as he does, he slips under the punches as he wraps the scarf around him, trying to leverage the monster into basically slamming himself into the ground. Land punches on himself. Izuku won't do any damage. He knows that. But luckily he has some sort of weaponry to at least try and parry some of these attacks. He slams his sword on the fist of the Nomu, but it shatters into pieces. Yeah, that version of his little, well, plan went to shit real quick. Izuku continues to dodge, but he knows that if once Shigaraki and Kurogiri decide that they want to enter this fight, and let's just say it seems that Izuku has run out of time. A portal opens up right next to him as a hand presses through it. Izuku is able to dodge, but as he does, he sees a giant fist about to connect with his face. Yeah, Izuku may have foresaw most things, but this is overwhelming. The amount of things going on all at once, the lack of speed that he has currently at this moment, he can't keep up with both. He can't keep up with all three of them. His senses are overloaded, and the punch is about to land directly on his face. But just as it's about to land, a giant shockwave shocks Izuku out of the way and lands straight onto the Nomu, budging it backwards and clashing with the punch. And all he could hear as he rolls to the side and gathers himself is a giant and loud, "I am here." All Might has arrived onto the battlefields with a ton of pro heroes. All Might clashes with the Nomu, and with the support of a bunch of other pro heroes on top of that, and luckily the heads up that Izuku gave, well, this fight is over. The Nomu is subdued, Shigaraki is shot multiple times through the leg, and on top of that, they're teleported away. Shigaraki and Kurogiri get out of there, and that's about it. The Nomu does not escape, and the Nomu is stuck there in a comatose stasis. Izuku looks at everything going on, and he sighs with relief as he stands up. All Might asks him if he's okay and hurts, but Izuku just walks by and pats him on the shoulder, thanking him for at least saving his ass. Izuku walks away, wishing that he could have done more, but he knows that even himself he's limited. This alone is a humble piece of pie. This is some humble pie for Izuku, especially as he walks over to Aizawa, levitating the scarf once again, throwing it around his neck. He apologizes, saying that he shouldn't have taken it, especially without asking. He leaves with every single student there, and they head back onto the buses and head back to UA. They're all given about a day or two off, just to recollect, relax, and get over what just occurred. But Izuku is already back working out, training, and trying to learn more about this power that he has within him. This power that seems so mythical, that seems like it's some sort of magic spell that was gifted upon him, but he doesn't know what it is necessarily. It seems to be, well, something similar to something he's read in a book, something he's read about, well, Norse mythology, something known as the Bifrost. But that makes no sense. How would that even be the case? All he has is a Foresight quirk. There's no way he could have anything else. Gifted a power based around the eyes that he currently has? Maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe his genetics are built differently, far differently than anybody else. Maybe his quirk itself is evolving, but he's not so sure. It's something to think about, but it's not something he can capitalize on, at least at this moment. Izuku would be back at school, and they would announce the UA Sports Festival. The UA Sports Festival is something that is right in front of them, something that Izuku can show off exactly what he's capable of. But at the same time, it's all strategy. All he can think about is setting things up properly for himself and for whatever else that is ahead. Izuku, when he arrives at the UA Sports Festival, he hears what's going on and sees that Midnight herself is announcing what's going to happen. First off is an obstacle course race, something that Izuku looks at to be something very interesting. Well, since a bunch of people can actually pass, he sees fit that he doesn't get first. There's no reason to get first in this regard, even if it helps him in the next round. As long as he gets through, conserve stamina, and easily set himself up for the next round. As Izuku heads through the obstacle course race, he kind of takes his time, his sweet time, frankly, and eventually when he reaches the minefield, he could just walk through without any problem at all. He knows exactly the way to go, but he decides to wait a little bit, and eventually he decides to run through without a hitch, and as he does so, he lets a couple people pass him. Actually, 5 to 6 people pass him. He believes that it doesn't necessarily matter where he places as long as he doesn't place first necessarily, but this would give him a far better team in the next round. On top of that, it would give him a chance to, well, easily win that next round as well. As everyone passes through, and as Izuku does as well, the next round is announced to be the cavalry battle. And let's just say a ton of people want to be with Izuku. You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious why. He can kind of, in a way, see the future. And Izuku finds this very funny, but still, he gets a really, really stacked team consisting of people from Class 1B and Class 1A. He actually likes the Tokiyami pick, especially with Dark Shadow and how effective Dark Shadow really is. On top of that, Setsuno Tokage is someone that is extremely good, especially in something like this. With the addition of a couple more people and some people that are very, very good in this cavalry battle, it's going to be relatively easy for them to grab some points and just stay on top. Izuku tells all of them to just follow his lead. They're going to take out a couple of the weaker opponents, grab their headbands, and then they're going to sit on the headbands until it's time for the next round. That's exactly what they do. Easy peasy. They do just that, but it seems that Monoma has a different choice of action. He actually wants to use Izuku's quirk to his own advantage. in which he of course tries, but that doesn't really work too well. Izuku's quirk is an interesting one for sure, something that he's worked on for a while, something that someone else would get extremely overwhelmed with. But with that said, they easily passed the cavalry battle, and frankly, it was something that it wasn't really hard in general for them to pass, easily beating them and easily finding their way to the next round. Izuku begins to tell his team that after this is all said and done, well, they're going to be going to the one-on-one portion of the tournament, and they better hope that they're not in the same bracket as himself. They question if he's that overconfident and that they'll definitely take him down, but no. Izuku wants the pathway to Katsuki Bakugo. He wants to prove something. He wants to show everyone that he truly is the best. But that is going to be for the next part of What If Deku Had a Foresight Quirk. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I know y'all, or I appreciate all y'all that have been showing love to this series. Y'all been enjoying it, so that's good. I have a Naofumi What If in the works currently. I kind of want to make it a movie, so I'm going to be working on it over a little course of time so I can get it over, so I can basically finish it. But with that said, though, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.